And we are live.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Radio 5G. This is Michael Henry Dunn with my esteemed co-host, Nancy Hopkins. And this is December 2nd, 2020. It's a big month. And hey, Nancy, how are you doing?
Oh, getting there. I'm very excited about the things that are happening. I think
it's... We've all heard about how December's going to be this intense roller coaster, between the astrology and the geopolitical reality, and what is the geopolitical reality really? Are questions on all of our minds, So we've got some things to cover here, and as usual, we're going to try to do our delicate dance around the censorship these days in terms of what this show, once it hits YouTube, will say it's about, and what it will be about, and what we'll share in here that hopefully won't get taken down, because that's where we're getting to in America these days. Anyway, so do you want to share with us a description of the tape, the piece that you brought to the table today?
Absolutely. Okay, this is the Simon Parkes YouTube station, which surprises me that he's got one, because this man, if nobody knows about him, I'm hoping most of you do, has been out there telling absurd stories for decades. He started out, well, he didn't start out, but he was a local political figure in Britain, and he began to come out about his relationship with the deep state black ops through his mom and dad, and just began to talk about all sorts of just weird things. But he seems to have a real connection to real information. I had a show called Simon Says, and that followed a 2-hour show of Simon Parkes giving a radio show. And then Walt Silva and I would come on, and we would discuss what Simon had said. And a lot of times I disputed what he said. But there were, he does have a huge following. So, anyway, so Simon comes back up on the, the radar last night when, excuse me, first show of the day. I haven't talked to anybody until now. Okay, so last night when we were doing Cosmic Reality Show, Walt Silva pointed to this YouTube, and he began to tell us about it. We didn't listen, we didn't play it. And then, and it was like, well, you'll find out what it's about. It's called the 29th November Election Update 2020. And he's been doing these updates on the election since the election happened. So that was, the 29th, which, what, 2 days ago? So then you gave me another one, his update of it, and I said, well, this is too synchronistic to not really focus on what he is saying. So I'm going to just play the thing, and hopefully we've got people out there that will tell us if we're not doing right here. I think we're doing right. Let me check. I was thinking, let me see what's happening here. Yeah, everything seems to be right. So, okay. All right, so we're going to play it, yes?
Yeah, let's go for just a little bit more on, for those who may not know, on Simon Parkes. He comes from an intelligence family. His mother and father were in MI5 and MI6. His grandfather was a British diplomat. He's been interviewed on Project Camelot with our friend Carrie Cassidy several times, and so he is deeply familiar with the intelligence community. Apparently was, as you say, a local political figure in the UK, and is, according to one of his latest videos, he is moving to the U.S., is moving to Arizona, is founding some kind of organization there. He has founded something called Consciousness Connection, or Connecting Consciousness, I apologize if that's just a paraphrase, but he
It's
has
collective
very
consciousness.
collective.
CollectiveConsciousness.com.
It's not connective.
No, collective.
Oh, okay. Collective is good, or connective. It's all good.
It's good. Yeah.
Anyway, he's got a spiritual orientation to his work, and so let's let it roll and see what the latest is from Simon Parks.
Hello and welcome to the promised update, 29th of November. Just ready to roll into December now. Had a couple of days, 3 days or so off from me. I hope the break was good. And I got some news, and those who have read the update I put on the website, I said that I would have to not speak in code, but I'd have to be quite careful. I can't, unfortunately, just tell you as it is. I've got to be very, very careful, but I can try and say what I've got to say, and hopefully you'll be able to read in between the lines. I've always tried to bring you up-to-date information. I've tried to bring you information that's not available anywhere else, and where it is available anywhere else, I've been able hopefully to give you the extra infill parts to it. My much loved ex-United States coordinator did send me a question saying, is it true that there were casualties in the attempt to take the German CIA safe house, the facility where the Dominion servers and SciTech or SciTol were based? And I said to you quite accurately that I didn't ever want you to imagine a massive gun battle like you'd see in a Hollywood blockbuster, and people are on the streets shooting into a building, and that wasn't the case. But I said there was a standoff. Those of you who've got the time can look back. There was a standoff between and my exact words were something like the station manager or the head of the centre, and there was a bit of a standoff. What I can confirm is that 5 United States military serving soldiers were killed in action inside the building in a fight, and that a senior member of the CIA who was there was wounded in the fight. This is a bad guy, and was arrested. You will remember that I said to you that the heads of the FBI and the heads of the CIA will probably be looking for a new job. And again, I don't know how many podcasts back that was, but you might remember me saying that. And I would suggest to you that one of those positions has already been vacated. Excuse me. One has already been vacated, and a new appointment will be made at some point fairly soon. One of those appointments was actually in Germany at the time that it was raided, and that is why that person is no longer head of that organization at the moment. Like you, I have always got very tired of being told of mass arrests. This person's supposed to be arrested, that person's supposed to be arrested. If half of it was true, it would all be a done deal and we'd be in utopia. So when we look at, the backdrop of the last few years, we are continually getting our hopes up and thinking something's happened, something's not happened, and then we never hear anything again. But I am actually quite clear with everybody. Oh, come on then, come and say hello. I am actually quite clear, say hello, that I can put it this way to you. Those of you who have the ability to look online would have checked the number of flights, airplane flights from the United States that have been very much active, military flights. There's something usually in the region of 250 flights a day. That's on average, I understand. 250 flights, someone's happy there. 250 flights a day, and we've been looking at between 500, 600 flights a day. And what I can say to you is that many of those aircraft were military personnel being moved around the US, but quite a lot of those flights were on their way to the Guantanamo Bay and the facility in Cuba. I believe Americans refer to it as Gitmo. So I can tell you that a number of people associated with the Dominion server, and not just that, but the attempt to overthrow the United States government through a fraudulent election, have actually been arrested, are in the process of being arrested, and in the process of being taken off the mainland to Cuba. Here's the bit that I've got to be so careful with. There was all the talk about the Hunter Biden laptop. That was quite a big thing, and nothing seemed to come of it. Do you remember? And nothing really rolled out on that one. And there was talk about Biden, who was taking money from China and all that sort of stuff, and it was doing the rounds in social media, but it never made it really officially, because no police authority or no the FBI, for instance, didn't actually seem to want to get involved in it. And you'll know that there was an executive order made by Trump that said that specifically if Biden became in a position where he could be a president-elect, then he would have to declare any foreign income. When President Trump agreed to let Biden have $7 million worth of taxpayers' money, which allowed him to have a military briefing, security briefing, have some office space, and move into the position of president-elect, that was a trick. Because when Biden accepted $7 million of taxpayers' money, he then became actionable under this executive order, which means that Biden now has to make clear the amount of monies he's got from China and what that's for. But that's not what I want to tell you. Well, I do want to tell you, but it's not the important point. And if it comes to fruition, you heard it here first. All right. Going back to those arrests, we often hear about indictments being written, and for people in Great Britain, if you think about the word indictment, it's not something we have here in Britain. In the British equivalent is the word charge. So in Britain, a police officer charges you, but in America, it's an indictment. It's somewhat different, I think. I can tell you that the key names associated with a certain laptop are having indictments drawn up against them. I say as we speak. I mean, I'm 6 hours ahead of the US, but there is a very real prospect of indictments for that group, that family, being in that position doesn't appear to have protected them from trying to overthrow the whole fabric of the United States of America. In other words, we should, in the days ahead, hear some news which will make every believer in truth and every believer in the true word of democracy, the true meaning of it, sit up and take notice. And I kicked off all of these podcasts after the election by saying that those people around the president had to stay true. Those people around the president had to do the job that they said they would do when they put Trump into that position. When Trump agreed to be a tough guy to take on the deep state, then it could only work if the people around him would follow through. And it does look as if they're following through. The information that I have received is very clear that there is no intention to let the United States of America be hijacked, to let the election system be defrauded, and to have the president removed illegally. There is a very strong possibility that the seriousness of what has occurred, the very threat to the whole nation of the United States, to the Constitution, to everything that you guys in America and those of us in other countries look at and understand and accept, the threat to that is so great that it is not improbable that President Trump may do an historic third term. In other words, the shake-up from what is unfolding now may be so great, and the fear that the United States was on the verge of being taken over by a communist, that's exactly the word I'll use, a communist conspiracy, that there's going to need to be a considerable period of time to kick out all of those conspirators, to get to grips with how the media has been, to get to grips with those individuals who have supported sedition, and that may take a long time. Now, I'm not saying definitely that President Trump could do 3 terms. I'm saying that from the information I've received, it's not unlikely that he could be in the position to take a 3rd term if that's what he wanted to do, simply because the disaster that only the surface is being scratched, but is apparent to those people in the know, but is not apparent to ordinary people. The impending disaster is so great, and the need for stability is so strong that may be happening. I always predicted that President Trump would get 300 plus votes, college votes. I always said it would be 300. And again, those of you who are not interested in listening to me, that's fine. But those who have listened to me, you'll remember I've said that. And I always thought between 300 and 350 college votes, which would be pretty good. But from those people who are decoding the information from the Dominion hardware and the software that runs on it, are telling me that President Trump won nearer to 400 college votes. 400. I mean, that is incredible. But it's not that incredible if you listen to Connecting Consciousness members all over the United States who live in America and say, we're not surprised because the tide of worry, the concern against a communist takeover was so strong that a vast number of people voted for Trump. So, I said 300, 350, but I'm being told it was nearer to 400 college votes. I don't know if that's a historical record. I don't know my American history well enough, but that's an incredible landslide. So the news I'm giving you is that there are indictments being drawn up for some of the biggest names, that a lot of people are being rounded up, both United States citizens and people from outside the United States, and are being put on airplanes and sent out to Cuba. And what that tells us is that President Trump and the White Hats have absolutely no intention of allowing the Constitution of the United States to be destroyed by a foreign power. That's exactly what we're talking about here. So I can't be more clear. Well, I can be, but I'm not going to be. there is some massive news about to break on this subject. The media have destroyed themselves for a generation. Who in the name of the Lord is going to actually listen and believe the media who have taken us down a particular road and then are going to be shown for exactly what they are? This is a reset in the democratic sense, in the true democratic sense of the United States. It's not a financial reset. I'm talking about a whole way that the US works. And I can say to you that experts will be brought in to strengthen the Constitution. Because of what's happened, the Constitution has been wonderfully robust. There are so many pathways through to stop this communist takeover, but that doesn't prevent experts at a later date being brought together to look at the Constitution, to maybe add addition to it, to add strength where it might be needed. So I can only see good things coming from this, and I really do want to counter the mainstream news. And just to say that the mainstream news made a big thing about certain court cases that were thrown out, and of course they said this was because President Trump's team didn't have a case. They didn't have any real evidence. But I do want to tell you is that that was all designed and planned because it allowed a much faster route to the Supreme Court. So rather than it being argued, make a date, argue it by saying, no, I'm not taking it, it means it can be immediately appealed up to higher courts. So, don't believe what you're being sold. So it's very exciting news, and there is some other bits that at this stage I'm not going to say, simply because I just don't feel that I can. Maybe I can never say it. Don't believe that if you listen to me in 3 days' time, I'll tell you. I don't know. There's some parts there I can't. Probably I can never say. But what I can say is that justice is coming for these people, and I don't think anyone's ever seen me dance. You don't want to see me dance, but I'll tell you what, when certain of these big names are indicted and arrested and charged, I will do a little dance, I think, because there's no way you can hold any sort of office in the United States if you've got a serious charge leveled against you. You just can't do it. You have to have your name withdrawn. You can't do it. So we're very pleased to have received that information, very pleased to pass it on in the covered manner that I have. And I'm just quite confident that things will work out. So thank you for taking the time. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, what do you make of that, Nancy?
Well, last night, like I say, Walt, we knew that there had been a raid. Okay, first off, what I heard was that the Special Forces had gone into, not the Dominion headquarters in Germany, but the CIA office that had either shadow Dominions, but it was all they were the backup for the Dominion system. But all of apparently the Dominion files were there that would show everything that happened on the election. And they didn't have, the Special Forces American didn't have jurisdiction to go into a German facility, but they certainly did with the CIA. So they went in there with the understanding that they were essentially going to secure the Dominion computers that were there, that had all the raw data, and they probably knew she was there, but we'll tell you who she is. But what's the head of the CIA is who he's talking about.
Gina Haspel.
Right, and we're going to get into that because we want to play another tape, an update of what this is. But you know, the essence of it was that they secured the information. You know, that was all anybody really was concerned with. Did you get the information? And yes, they had the information. So a lot of things started happening right after that. So last night, when Walt brought up Simon's video here that we just played, I said, I was sitting there and I'm listening to him tell it, and I'm going like, he was confused on how many planes were going where, but what Simon was saying, that was nationwide the amount of military planes that were taking off, and it was record breaking. And so Walt got into this thing about, he focused on the 500 in Gitmo, that there were 500 planes flying into Gitmo every day. And he's going, that couldn't possibly be. And I'm going, no, I don't think it is. You're trying to do the math. It's like every 5 minutes you got to have another plane come in. But so I hadn't heard what Simon had actually said, that it was all over the United States, not just Gitmo. So there were a lot of planes going into Gitmo. So, but anyway, it made me focus on Gitmo. And so I said, well, let me just see what the heck is happening there. But I've been really sick. Not sick, but energy. I got whacked by an energy situation. Be careful of your friends. If you got friends that are really screwed up and putting out a lot of bad information, armor yourself up. You know, put God's armor around you, because we're energy beings, and somebody that's really in a bad state can whack you out. And it whacked me out. So I really wasn't getting the inclination to do a remote myself. But Dolly Howard was on the show with me, so I said, well, Dolly, why don't you just take a look at Gitmo? And I said, do you feel like you're up to it? And she said, well, yeah, if you go with me. And I said, yeah, I'll go with you. So she goes silent, and she's calling in angels and protection to, do the remote and do it fairly and, focused and all that. And then she says, whoa, there's a plane, and she proceeded to, essentially she went to the place that they would have landed the planes on Gitmo. I'm assuming there must be an airstrip, military airstrip, right in Cuba, but next to Guantanamo, Gitmo. I don't think that they were flying into Havana and then, bussing them out. It had to be a military. So anyway, she says, there's the plane, and I'm following it, and I see the plane, I see the tarmac, and something distracted me. Something she said distracted me, and I was checking something else, and I lost my focus on what she was doing, but I was listening to her, and she just took, she said, she talked about the people, and she said that they're being put on buses, described the buses, as white buses, no markings. But she went in, sort of looked like, went inside and saw, she said, but oh wow, they're shackled. I said, so it's a prison bus. And she said, I guess. I said, yeah, they'd have shackled things that they'd lock them into so that they couldn't go anyplace. And it was a very short ride to Gitmo. And they stop at a gate, and she's saying, there's a gate, but she said, it's a big name, it's not Gitmo. And Dolly doesn't think about certain things. And I said, Guantanamo? And she went, oh, I guess it is. Because she was trying to read it. They also had name tags, and she was trying to read the name tag. She couldn't focus in on certain things. She couldn't focus in on their faces, which was interesting. Because I did. I mean, when I first went in and knew I was going to have a problem, I was with the people, and I couldn't get away from the people. Very scared, terrified. So anyway, so they were taken in, and then they all went into this hallway place and sat down in chairs, and then there was like a pipe or something that locked in. I guess it was the. I don't think it was the. I don't think it was the handcuffs. I think it was that they had shackles on. And so I mean, this had taken about 10 minutes by that time, and she was worn out. She said, I got to get out of here. I said, okay, let's go. But my point being is that, yes, there is a tremendous amount of activity in Guantanamo. And for those of you that don't know, 2 years ago, I think it was, they spent millions and millions of dollars to expand and upgrade that facility. So they were waiting for, let's say, visitors. Oh, she was pointing out, Dolly's really good because she points out things that I don't know that I would even see them, but she sees these things. She says, as they go through the gate, she says, "Oh my God, there's a welcome sign." She says, "Somebody has put up a welcome sign," and she just started laughing, So anyway, I can confirm through remote viewing that yes, what he was describing happening at Gitmo is happening, and that's what I want to say.
Okay, well, it's always interesting to me about information, facts, observations are one thing, and interpretation of what they mean is another. And, okay, so we've got apparently civilians being arrested, shackled, flown into Gitmo, put in a hallway. Can't focus on their names, can't focus on their faces. Seems to corroborate one part of what Simon Parks is saying. So I'd love to go on to the bigger picture of what he's saying. Let's say, okay, your remote, you and Dolly's, has confirmed, partly what Simon Parks is saying here. Now he's saying that there's indictments of big names that will be coming out shortly, and that anyone who truly cares about democracy will have to sit up and take notice. And that this is, in his words, a sellout, a takeover, a sellout of the United States of America to a foreign power in essentially a communist takeover. These are his words. Now he's sort of tiptoeing around saying who. I don't know why he's tiptoeing, because, okay, suppose he says, well, the Hunter Biden laptop and what I got from Dominion proves that Joe Biden sold America out to the Chinese, and essentially he's a total puppet of a Chinese government. And now that he's received $7 million in transition funding from the GSA, he's going to have to disclose any money received from foreign powers. And if he fails to do that, that's an indictable offense, something along those lines, right? I mean, I'm saying it here only because I'm just putting names to what's obvious that he's talking about, right? I mean, is this the narrative that you kind of got from it?
Yeah, Simon always strikes me as being a little dramatic. It might be the British in him.
Yeah, well, it's funny about the Brits, right? Because they're famously understated.
We love you, Britain. We love you.
Yeah, we love you, Britain.
Just playing here.
Never mind that, I'm Irish. I'm Irish, but I love you anyway. I'm an Anglophile of a kind. Shakespeare lover, Beatles lover. Never mind that the Beatles were half Irish anyway, but moving right along.
Don't tell anybody.
What's that?
I said don't tell anybody about
Don't
the
tell
Beatles.
anybody about McCartney or Lennon. In fact, that Harrison was raised Catholic. Never mind.
Don't do that.
Right along. Yeah, Ringo's the only true Brit among the Beatles.
Interesting.
And the rest are Irish. That's an overstatement. George Harrison, never mind. Okay. But anyway, so Simon Parks. So, yeah, I mean, being all hush hush, I dare not name names. Well, it's perfectly obvious who he's talking about. And it's not like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like you, I found it a little bit dramatic. Now, my immediate question is, okay, indictments are coming, and everybody's going to sit up and take notice. My question is, indictments by whom and reported by whom? Who's doing the indicting? Is this military tribunals in Gitmo? Who's doing the reporting? Is it Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, Christian Amanpour? Because these are the people that the American sheeple have been trained to believe, right? And they're not going to believe alternative journalism. They're not going to believe you or me or Kerry Cassidy or David Icke or, what's his name over on the InfoWars. We're all wackos, right? in order for it to not be perceived as a fascist coup leading to blood in the streets, it's going to have to be a turncoat from a deep state operative like Anderson Cooper, or, like I said to you, and I don't know if you saw this message that I sent you on Facebook, the best turncoat to go in front of the American people and say, hey, folks, here's the real deal, would be Barack Obama, right? Because everybody, whatever, 60, 70% of Americans, think he's just the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he'd, if he came out and said, okay, well, I was a puppet of a deep state cabal, and here's who really runs, America, and here's what they were trying to do, and now we've been caught, and I'm exposing the whole thing. That's the way to avoid having it look like a fascist coup. They can't have Trump come out and say it, because that's just going to look like a fascist coup. So my question is, okay, Simon, sounds good. My bottom line for many years now has been expose the cabal, expose the elite pedophilia rings, restore the republic, just like everybody else, all right? But, I have not hidden the fact that I'm extremely dubious of Donald Trump's leadership abilities, communication abilities, character liabilities. He's not in a position to come out and make this credible to the American people in such a way that it will be accepted peacefully and that people will say, holy Toledo, now we know the truth. It's got to be somebody from the other side who is a turncoat. And if they've got Gina Haspel, like, this is what he's saying, CIA director, that's Gina Haspel. And while we were talking here, I was Googling, right? And I came up with our good old friends at Snopes. Snopes debunks the conspiracy theorist rumor that Gina Haspel was injured in a raid in Germany. All right, and this is what this is how credible Snopes is. They actually say, well, we have done investigations into this, and the U.S. Army assures us it didn't happen, and so does the Associated Press. That's like, oh, wow. Well, of course, if it did happen, the AP, which is, corporate media central, and the Army, which, of course, is not about to disclose anything, is going to say, oh, yeah, in fact, that's true. There was a raid and the Dominion servers were taken, and Biden's going to be taken down, and the CIA director was injured, and she's in Gitmo now. Right. This is just for all you folks who want to, give any credibility to Snopes. This is how absurd, their claims of having debunked this story are. So anyway, this is the question. It sounds to me from listening to Simon like he's really not all that knowledgeable, about, an indictment is not the same thing as a police officer charging you with something. I'm no lawyer, but, an indictment, by, either a grand jury or a prosecutor, et cetera, means the case has been examined. They believe there's sufficient evidence to justify an indictment. The prosecutor's got to believe that there's a chance of conviction, et cetera, et cetera. So my question is, we've heard about the more than 100,000 sealed indictments for years, and, it takes a long time to process them, and all the big names are going to, but Simon Parks talks about this. We're all very frustrated at hearing endlessly about how big names are being charged. They're wearing ankle bracelets. Hey, Biden's got a boot. It's not about his dog. He's wearing an ankle bracelet to track him. What? They can't track the president-elect of the United States? He's going to, pull an O.J. Simpson and get in a white Ford Bronco and try to hightail it up to Northern California? I don't know. I would just love to see this be true. I really would. And I have a hard time. When you had this thing going, Nancy, where Simon Says, and you would get on the radio after Simon Parks came out with things, what's his track record of being right? What kind of criticisms when you said, hey, we had disagreed a lot? What's your take on his credibility level, given his track record of saying, hey, I come from an intelligence community family. Mom and dad were MI5, MI6. Here's the real deal. Here's what I'm hearing. How often has he been spectacularly wrong? How often has he been right? What would you say on this?
Those two shows ran together for 2 years, and he would continually talk about dates. Be prepared for April. Be prepared for July. Be prepared. Not one time did I see any of those dates come true. And that was my real problem with Simon. As a matter of fact, Simon Simon wanted to come on Cosmic Reality. And I refused. And I told him why. I said, my audience is not your audience. And I just didn't have, Simon has a huge following. Tens of thousands. And I was in no position to be able to deal with him, because I had already gone through this when he was on Wolf Spirit with me. You know, he would basically bottom out the station almost every time with the amount of listeners.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that capability. And so, you know, we left friends. I said, I can't do it, Boryahan. And but I also saw him talk about things that were very deep and very profound that I agree with. I'm not against Simon in any way. I'm actually, you know, a fan of his, because he took this is a gutsy guy.
Yeah.
You know, he has come under attack continually. Gutsy guy. So I have deep I respect him a lot, but and I felt that the date thing was games that they play with people, because everybody was given dates, including myself.
Right.
You know, fell on their sword. Now let me give you an example, a reminder thing. You remember the event? The event. He kept coming. You know, the event. I mean, this went on for years.
I mean, the event is supposed to have come at least several different times with specific dates in my memory, going back 10 years.
Right. Well, the event actually happened in April of 2014, and that's when I found Shungite. Shungite was the event.
Oh, I remember us talking about this. Yeah.
You know,
yeah, and
after that, you didn't hear about it again. The event,
right? And it's like some, you know, cabal kingpin said, "Oh well, yeah, the biggest, darkest, evilest spirit on the planet left the planet. The cabal doesn't know about it, but basically left the planet because, like, oh shucks, they found the antidote."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Meaning, Shungite.
Yep. Because Shungite is much deeper than, I wrote a book on it, for crying out loud. I'm telling
I've
you.
got it. The book is about 18 inches from my elbow as we speak.
Thank you.
Shungite Reality.
Shungite Reality. You can get it on Amazon, or better yet, go through cosmicreality.net. Well, go to cosmicreality.com and you can get a direct link to where you can buy it. And when you buy it there, it's the same price as Amazon, but you're going to get a B stamp with Shungite ink. So the book itself becomes a much more magical thing when it's got the Shungite on it. So you can do that. But I've written a book on it, but I never got into the full deep. It's more. There's no name for it. You can't call it metaphysics, etheric. You can't call it quantum physics. It's this, because it's a combination of ceremonial magic and a reality of the black goo. And that's I've talked hours and hours on this, and
right.
That's what we're talking about. Is that when Shungite's always been here. But it's really weird. Early in the game, Walt and I, doing as much as we worked with Gaia and making some amazing metaphysical and physical changes to the planet and other places. As the more we did this, we realized that nobody needed us to do this. We were like actors in a play. But Gaia needed witnesses. Gaia could do all this. Gaia could say, oh, for heaven's sakes, and just whoosh, in one wish, everything would be righted. But it needs to be witnessed in order to sort of manifest. And I kind of think it's not a universal law. I think it's a law of Gaia. You know, I will do these things for you. I will help you. But you have got to partake. You have to do the witnessing. You have to be able to stand in your power and grab the magic.
Yeah, it's like that story of the King Mine disaster that you told about the
Yeah.
remote you did when all the river system got flooded, and then you did a remote and you're seeing all these little lights lighting up, and you're going to turn on the etheric versions of the Shungite cleansing dynamic. But then Gaia says wait, right?
Yep,
Gaia
yep.
said wait, because all those little lights lighting up were human beings exercising their sovereignty, witnessing and saying, no, this must not be, this must be cleansed. And then Gaia says, okay, now, right?
Exactly. So, but that's a huge story in and of itself. But when we got the Shungite gave us an energy upgrade, and if you understood the concept of black goo, you'd understand how powerful Shungite really is. And like I say, I never got into that in the book. We hardly ever talk about it because it is. Well, I don't know why we don't talk more about it. Maybe we should start talking more about it.
Yeah, that's in the second edition.
The
Black
second,
Goo.
yeah. But well, we got just enough time to play this tape before we take a break, and then we can come back and talk about it, or we can just keep talking like this and then play this.
Okay,
at the top of the
what
hour.
is the second tape you're talking about? Is this about the 5G virus link?
No, this is the 1st December election. 1st of December. The one you originally sent me.
Oh, okay, the other Simon Parks one.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't. I don't know that it says anything differently from what we've already talked
Oh,
about.
I do. I think it's important.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right.
Hello, it's the 1st of December. Just a very quick update. Clarification really on some of the things that have come out from my talk. I'm very grateful that so many people have come across to me. Robert David Steele, Kerry Cassidy, lots of people, Magenta Pixie, people that I don't even know have shared the initial videos. So thank you for that. But a lot of you, of course, who have no experience of me, don't know me, are saying, well, who is this guy and how does he know all this? And a small minority of you are being very unpleasant, actually. I don't know why you listen to me if all you want to do is to ignore what I'm saying. Go listen to someone else who'll tell you lies. So those of you who are interested and have not come across me before, I'm going to give you very, very quick background, and then I'm just going to give you some updates, some clarifications is probably a better word. Okay, so I am British. Mother and father were British, but my grandfather worked for the British External Security Service called MI6, but really he was working for the CIA on loan or leased out, if you like. My mother worked for MI5, but really she was working for the National Security Agency, and again she was leased out. So there's a family there. My grandfather was also a British diplomat, so that's the line there. Recently I had an offer to work for the CIA, which I've turned down. That came through a guy called Ted Marr. Ted Marr has a radio show, was based in Seattle. He's since moved his station. He's a very pro-Trump guy, and the mayor literally closed him down. And he was approached. I was on the radio show once a month or twice a month. He hosted it, and I did the radio show, and the CIA approached him, and he came to me and said, look, there's a job offer. They want to move you to Washington, D.C., you and everybody else around you, and this is what they want you to do. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. I'd already taken a job from another organization to go to Arizona in the United States, And for those of you who are new to me, yes, I've been offered a job in America, hopefully relocating to AZ sometime in the new year when things have calmed down. I've been offered a 5-year contract. And for those of you, again, even if you're in the industry, shall we say, and you don't know, Arizona is the home of the Q movement, and it's also the home of the 503rd Battalion. And if you're saying, what's the 503rd Battalion? It's the Krakens. So when Sidney Powell was referring to unleash the Kraken, she was actually referring to the 503rd Battalion, which is in Arizona. Alpha, Bravo and Charlie companies are actually based there. So I've been offered a job in Arizona. Fingers crossed we can get out there. Right, okay. Wanted to put you in the picture that, you know, at any moment we expect to be dropped off. So we're on BitChute, and if you are interested in the updates, then if we suddenly disappear from YouTube, will you please make your way to BitChute and see if you can find me. It seems that all the truth speakers are actually on BitChute. Robert David Steele said he'd try and get me a chat with one of the managers there, see if we can, you know, get some sort of platform up quite quickly. Thank you, Robert. If you can do that, I'd be very grateful. Right, just wanted to put something right. There's been two aspects to what I've said in relation to the attack on the Frankfurt CIA facility. One is that the CIA director was shot and killed. I actually said that, if you remember, that a leading manager, station manager, was wounded. I couldn't at that time, I wasn't authorized, shall we say, at that time to tell you who that was. But it's absolutely true that the CIA director was in the Frankfurt facility. What on earth was the head of the CIA doing off American soil in a building containing Dominion servers? And I can tell you that they were trying to shred every document, remove everything. But the good guys, that's the 305 Battalion and other units as well, were totally aware that the CIA director was there, and the raid was done deliberately to catch that person red-handed. The reason that 5 American patriots were killed in the operation was because the bodyguard around the CIA director basically fought. Everybody else just sort of gave up, but the bodyguard around the director fought, and that's what occurred. So there are two versions now, that she's dead, or she's, you know, went to Guantanamo Bay. What I want to tell you is that she's not dead. That's a cover story. I don't think I'm going to be in trouble for telling you that. That's the truth. That's a cover story placed up, a bit like Jeffrey Epstein, really. What happened was that when she was wounded, not severely, taken to Guantanamo Bay, but en route to Guantanamo Bay, she decided that she wanted to work for the good guys, and she literally sang like a canary. That's how it's been told to me. Those are the words used. In other words, that she's given the all of the information she has to the white hats. She didn't even get to Guantanamo Bay. The airplane turned back, and the deal that's been cut is that she will be quietly forgotten, quietly removed, new name, new details, etc., etc. That's not to say at some future date, you know, one side or the other might change their mind on that. But at the moment, that is the deal that's been done. That just leaves the FBI. And I think that the FBI will fall into line now. If you know that the director of the CIA was shot by American military, has then turned her back on the deep state and has provided a great deal of information, I think if you're in the FBI, you do what you need to do. That is why I think that the FBI are much more likely to start doing indictments for the Bidens. I mentioned that. I was quite careful on that because nobody else had been given that information, and some of you people who have not been very polite to me saying, how does he know this stuff? Look, just because I'm British doesn't mean I don't know what's happening, okay? And I've been offered a job in America. That must tell you something. and I am getting my information from American intelligence. American intelligence doesn't just mean the CIA and the FBI. There's a whole range of other patriot intelligence organizations that are active in the US. And indeed, it is those groups now that are in the ascendancy. It's those groups which are calling the shots, quite literally. And when the report was given to President Trump, I'm going to just give you the detail of the level of quality of information that I have, that when it was reported to President Trump that 5 of these very brave people had died in the operation at Frankfurt, he knew most of them personally, and he was incredibly moved and upset, and Melania, the First Lady, consoled him very much. It was a very difficult time when 2 military people came and told him what had happened, that they'd got all the software, they'd captured a lot of people, but there'd been these five losses, and he was deeply moved. And I say the First Lady did an excellent job in, keeping him strong in front of the military men. You can't afford to be too upset in front of your soldiers, because Trump knows all of these special operations individuals, and he likes to personally thank them whenever he can. He's not the sort of president that just waves his hand and says, get on with it. To the military, he takes a great interest in that. So he was quite upset and shocked by that. The information that I gave you is accurate, that a large number of these people have gone to Guantanamo Bay because they want to be taken off United States soil. Some of them can be rehabilitated, brought back. Some of them can never be rehabilitated, but all of them have a story to tell. All of them have information to tell. All of them have acted in a treasonous way, and when you act in a treasonous way, you should expect the greatest penalties, unless you can cut a deal. I know a lot of us don't like deal making, but the president is up against a time scale here, and would like as much information as possible, and so they will cut deals if it can help them to short circuit the time frame that we've got here. So that was it, really. Just wanted to give you the point that the CIA director is not dead. The CIA director is working now with the White Hats. Oh, she's been sacked. Trump has sacked her from the position. Don't expect a replacement at the moment. Going to keep that open. If you take the head off the snake, then you have to check the rest of the body, and when the rest of the body's good, you can put the head back on it, can't you? So there we are. That's it. So those of you who have been faithfully listening to me, you know all about it. I'm sorry I had to tell you the bit at the beginning, but there've been a lot of people who who is this guy, how does he know, and he's making it all up, and he's just copying other people. No, I'm not. I really am not. And if you take the trouble to regularly listen in, you'll find that you receive information here that you don't hear anywhere else. And again, I'm the founder of Connecting Consciousness. We have a worldwide organization, thousands of members, lots in the United States, and each state has a coordinator, and he or she coordinates a group of not just spiritual people, but preppers, patriots, a whole group of people who have rejected the situation as it is, and have done for a long time. But we do it within a spiritual context. And if you want to join, you can. It's free, don't charge you to join, and you just do that on my website, simonparks.org. As long as we're still up and running, all you do is you click on the heart, the earth. It's a contract between you and the earth, and you don't pay any money, because I didn't want to mix money with a contract between you and your higher self. And how do we survive? By donations. And I don't have adverts on my videos. Don't believe in that. And I don't sell you information. I don't say to you, you can have 5 minutes of this, but if you want the rest, you've got to pay for it. I just ask for your generosity from your heart to hit the fund button and then that just keeps us going until we can get to America, and do what we can do on a larger group. And the ultimate goal of my organization physically is to build a healing center in Great Britain, and we should be starting that in January, working in partnership. I'd like one in Wales, just across the border, and certainly in America I want one in Arizona. So if you haven't come across what we stand for, then hopefully it'll be very interesting for you to do some research. If you're just interested in the updates, that's fine. I'm providing that because I wish to counter the total lies coming out from the deep state. Okay, that's it. No waffle, no nonsense, no talking about what we saw on television or how we are today. Just the facts. You can get on with it. Speak to you later. God bless. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we are at the top of the hour, and Radio 5G will be back in about 4 minutes or so. Welcome back to Radio 5G. Michael Henry Dunn, Nancy Hopkins here. So let's delve into that second tape we just heard from Simon Parks. It's a lot to integrate here. What do you feel, Nancy? You said that that the second one had important information that you felt was an expansion on the first. I mean, we're talking about Gina Haspel, who's been the director of CIA since the spring of 2018. Early in November, there were news reports that the Trump administration was very unhappy with her, felt that she was not following up on intelligence relevant to allegations of election fraud, and that she might, in the wake of the election, that she might be fired by Trump. Gina Haspel, by the way, is implicated during her confirmation hearings, was heavily implicated in torture, and that I'm using the word according to what the Geneva Convention refers to, waterboarding and confinement in a box. That's torture, and that she ran a black site in Thailand, where not only was she supervising so-called enhanced interrogation techniques, i.e. torture, but was also implicated in the destruction of evidence of those torture sessions, which, of course, is against the Geneva Convention and against everything that America stands for, and, oh, by the way, is not an effective interrogation technique, according to experts. So that's Gina Haspel from Kentucky. And supposedly she has either been, according to Simon, she's not been killed, but was slightly injured in a raid on a CIA site where the Dominion servers were allegedly being housed with information on election fraud. So, this is one of those things where it's like people saying Hillary is at Gitmo, or Obama's at Gitmo. Oh, and that's a body double walking around doing, photo ops. Now, there are body doubles. A lot of leaders have body doubles. It makes sense as a security measure. So it strikes me from everything that Simon is saying that we're going to find out pretty soon. I mean, this is not one of those alt journalism, internet rumors that gets, played out over a matter of months, like, oh, it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. There's been a slight delay. No, we're going to find this out, within a matter of days, a couple of weeks at the outside. So I don't know what to say beyond that. What's your take on this second tape, Nancy?
As far as an operation, a military operation, okay, it's special forces that are going into a foreign country. But what I heard from, mainstream media, not really the ulterior, it was like they also knew that something had happened. There was this story, Fox. But what the stories that I got indicated to me that what happened was that the Dominion has actually got a whole office and facility there. if they would have gone into there, they would have breached a German problem, but because it was a CIA operation, they could go in there and police it. So that to me sounds really right, that they were, because it was like a backup to the Dominion, that the CIA, I'm sure the Dominion might already have been, from the German side of it, might have already been gone, but the data. But the CIA, not only would they have, probably only acted like that in the very last, and of course, that they've got probably backup of it someplace, but they needed to get there fast. They needed, and it was fast, they needed to be able to secure the whole facility and not produce another panorama of problems by it being a German facility. It was actually CIA. The fact that the head of the CIA would be there for that particular situation, yeah, I can see that happening too, because this is probably the most important mission you've ever been on, and she's obviously very capable of making evidence disappear.
Yeah, I mean that's in her Wikipedia file if you want to look it up. I mean, this is about confirmation hearings where all this was brought out. It's like, hey, you ran a black site in Thailand, people were tortured, and evidence was destroyed. What about that, Ms. Haspel? And she was confirmed anyway, first woman to run CIA. So
let me just give you another part of that. Why I think that that presentation was actually very accurate. Dark journalist. He's dark journalist YouTube. He's very popular. Has done a series on what's NSA. No, it's NSAM 57, and this is I don't even know what to call it. Michael got into me about. Well, I just started calling it a decree because I wasn't sure. I know it wasn't stated as being a presidential executive order. It may have been in that framework, but the way that Daniel was speaking of it, it was a decree, I'm going to just say decree, by Kennedy. He created 3 different separate NSA 55, 56, and 57 in, just before he was assassinated. And those documents were put together to create a continuity of government. And it seems like it was that he made the connection to what had happened in Cuba. Because when he got into the office, all of a sudden there was a Cuban Missile Crisis. And there is real data that Bobby Kennedy had to back channel to Russia.
Khrushchev.
Huh?
Yeah. Khrushchev, yeah.
Yeah. To basically Russia, Khrushchev, to tell them that, and he went through the embassy, or the, what do they call it? Ambassador. The ambassador from Russia, from the Soviet Union at that time. From the Soviet Union, the ambassador, and he went to him and said, look, my brother has lost control. The military is taking over, and they want to have a world war here. You guys have got to back off. And I mean, if I'm right, if I remember, it was written. That was in one of the biographies done on Kennedy. But it does seem to be true. I've had other sources that have confirmed that.
Yeah,
but,
I'm familiar with that story.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So you got the situation where it would have made sense for Kennedy to sort of like make some provisions in case this happened again to prevent a takeover. I mean, continuity of government normally refers to, where you're going to put people to survive a nuclear war. But continuity of government can also mean continuity of the government, So,
well, how do you mean? How do you mean? You mean succession issues?
No, that you're being taken over. No, we don't want to be taken over. We want to have the continuity of the government that we have. We're not going to have some, insurrection, revolution, whatever. So it makes sense that he would have kind of shored up that situation with these three NSAMs, whatever they are. But so 55 and 56 were enacted to set in motion the provision that you could enact 57 and put it all in operation. What it would do, what 57 would do if you activated it, was you would take the special forces of the United States and put them directly under the command of the President of the United States, therefore taking out all military command and the CIA from control of those very, very vital forces. So it must have been a week ago now. President Trump enacted that. Well, I don't even actually know. He might have done it sooner than that. But he enacted NSA 57, because once you have an election, a sitting president is not supposed to make any big waves and make any changes. He did not make a change. All he did was enact something that John Kennedy, 50 plus years before, had put into operation. Very, very profound. So by enacting that, the special forces, why did they come to Kennedy to Trump and say, tell about the operation? Because he was their commander.
Well, he's their commander anyway. He's the commander-in-chief of all the forces.
Yeah, but this was special. Simon was specific in that it was special forces reporting the death of special forces that the president knows. Okay? It sounded to me, it felt like it was, he's not talking to the military, the generals. Yes, some of them are white hats. But the vast majority of the structure of the military, he has gone around in this particular situation.
Okay, so let me understand. So you're saying that there are special forces reporting directly to the president, so that whoever, say we got some white hat, whether it's Navy SEALs or or some elite shadow unit we don't even know about, that is bypassing the chain of command. Correct. Which is, as you know, chain of command is sacred. So you're bypassing the chain of command and reporting not through whatever your branch is, Marines, Navy, Air Force. You're reporting directly to the president and bypassing the chain of command.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So just I'd like to share just a little bit about the Kennedy background story, because I've read up on that over the years. When he first got into office, the missile crisis didn't happen. When he first got into office, the Bay of Pigs happened. Planned by Eisenhower, Kennedy got in, they briefed him on it, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he approved it. Okay, we're going to invade Cuba to overthrow Castro. Okay, in we go. Well, it's a famous complete disaster, all right? And at a certain point, Kennedy was called upon by the military to authorize, even though the thing was a complete fiasco, to authorize, follow-up, bombing, invasion, and Kennedy refused. And he went on TV and took personal responsibility. He could have blamed Eisenhower. He could have said, well, the incoming administration, there was an existing operation, and no, he took responsibility. But that earned him a lot of antagonists in CIA, who were, of course, working with the mob, who wanted to get back into Havana, because that was their, a major base for the mafia. So this was kind of the beginning of, the long road towards Dallas for JFK, because then he begins to see what the real deal is. He begins to see how crazy certain members of the military are. They try to get him to approve Operation Northwoods, which is completely above board. It's right there for everybody to Google. Operation Northwoods, proposed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff to JFK to bomb American cities, kill American civilians undercover, a textbook false flag, undercover of Cuban insignia to gain public support for an invasion of Cuba. And, Kennedy must have, said to himself, Christ, these people are nuts. And he refused to approve it. And, and then here comes the missile crisis, and General Curtis LeMay and others were putting huge pressure in those secret meetings once they discovered the missiles to go ahead and just bomb Cuba, bomb the Air Force Base where the satellites had observed the missile sites. And, and Robert Kennedy and JFK realized that they were in danger of, that it was a heavy pressure from the military and it was going to result in a world war. And so they did do a back channel communication. Khrushchev was under pressure from his military. And both of them were looking for ways to save face and not have the world blow up while at the same time resisting pressure from the military. So, it was the famous, who blinked first with the blockade. And Russia backed down. So, but again, that was, a second strike against JFK as far as the cabal, CIA was concerned. And then there's presidential directive, whatever it was, with the Green Hilton Memorial Agreement with Sukarno of Indonesia to try to cut the legs out from under the Fed and return control of the American currency to the Treasury Department. So these are all the strikes that, led up to Dallas, basically. And the fact that Bobby Kennedy was taking it to the mob with the Justice Department. And as far as the mob was concerned, hey, Sam Giancana, we delivered the first award in Chicago. Dead people voted. Hundreds of thousands of people voted twice. That gave you Illinois. That gave you the presidency. And now you've got your brother going after us. What are you doing? So later, Giancana was reported to have said once, America went to hell in the 60s, after they killed JFK, Giancana was reported to have said, we should have just killed Bobby. Anyway, so I just wanted to give that quick little bit of historical background here to what these, and it's the height of the Cold War. So succession in terms of, we're at the brink of nuclear war. What do we do if the Russians fire a missile first and they hit D.C.? Where are the bunkers? What's the continuity of government? How do we maintain America, in a bunker situation? So, my question on this is, okay, so we've got Special Forces unit reporting directly to Trump, bypassing a chain of command. In terms of this scenario that Simon Parks is painting for us, actually playing out, what I perceive in terms of public perception, the media, the way, the courts have struck down virtually every, single case that Trump has brought. All the states, have essentially certified the votes to, lock in an electoral college win for Biden. Yeah, it doesn't happen formally until whatever it is, 14th or 15th. There is such a huge momentum. And Trump's team has screwed up so badly. I'm sorry, Giuliani is a joke. It's an embarrassment. He's got allies deserting him left and right now, to the governor of Georgia, governor of Arizona, William Barr, Chris Christie, etc. It doesn't look good. For this to be pulled off, for the kind of reversal and exposure that Simon Parks is talking about to be pulled off, such that it does not appear to the American public like a fascist coup, you're going to need, where is it going to be reported? Who's doing the indictments? They're going to need to have, you'll need to have Gina Haspel, on CNN with Joe Biden standing next to her and like maybe Obama and the Pope. I don't know, going, okay, folks, we've been lying to you for decades, hundreds of years. Here's the real deal. We're confessing. We're getting immunity. And, here's the cabal. Here's the central banking families. Here's the election fraud. Here's, Jeffrey Epstein truth. Here's the, the elite pedophilia ring truth. And, okay, so new day, restore the republic. That's what it's going to take. I hope they're able to line something like that up, because to me, given the momentum in the direction of Biden's inauguration on January 20th, it's going to need to be a bombshell that's going to need to be delivered by sources that people are going to believe, and that ain't going to be Donald. I'm sorry, it's not at this point. It's got to be somebody, that has credibility in the eyes of the sheeple. So I mean, I'd love to see something like that happen. I'm not a Trump fan. I think he has not been an effective leader of the anti-globalist movement, and he's got major liabilities as a person and as a leader that I think have crippled him. That's my personal opinion. Biden is just going to be a puppet of the corrupt elite who's going to lead us straight down the path to, mass vaccinations and the Great Reset. Communist, collectivist. I like to use the word collectivist. And then, we'll be fighting the reality instead of having somebody I regard as let's just call him an ineffective person who wouldn't actually be able to help us. So I don't know, that as I listen to this whole thing from Simon Parks, if this is going to be real, this is what we're going to have to see, and we're going to have to see it really fast. We're going to have to see signs besides, Biden walking around with a boot.
Okay, are you done?
Well, I took less time than you did, my dear. I did. I took less time than you.
Okay, see, the situation here is that everything that is on the table showing what happened in the election indicates that the president did have a massive landslide that is he'll dominate the Electoral College. That's what the facts are. Now, you're disputing that there are any facts.
No, I'm not. I'm saying you're saying all the facts that are on the table indicate a landslide. You are saying the Dominion servers, which we haven't seen, haven't been brought forward, indicate a landslide.
No, just set them aside right now, okay? Because even what happened in the electronics, wouldn't have changed the votes. It wouldn't change the election. His landslide was so intense that the computer system that was supposed to, change the votes to make sure that Biden won, there were so many Trump votes that the computer couldn't keep up with it. So they realized at about 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning, that the computers were glitching out. They were not being able to keep up. So it was like a 3% change. So because a 3% change, you cannot see, it's very difficult to detect that there's been changes electronically. So what happened was that they got to the point, and they can see this. They can see the readouts happening. And as a matter of fact, one of my friends was watching the readout, and she saw it change. They would say, okay, all right, well, now we got to put in this last ditch effort to make the electronic computers to make the difference. And what they did was they would take 2,000 votes for Trump and put them to Biden. And she actually saw the change. She said, how did Trump just lose 20,000, and Biden get 20,000? She saw it on the numbers. They were showing numbers. So anyway, but it wasn't going to work. So at that time, they shut down the voting. All of a sudden, they weren't counting the votes all over the place, right? And I was up. I saw it happen. It started when they declared Arizona with 2% in for Biden. And all of a sudden, it's like even the people, the commentators were going like, what just happened? Because that couldn't possibly happen. So anyway, that's what started it. And then you have all of these different polls in different cities, democratically run cities, stop the voting. And then at 4 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden there's huge dumps of ballots that came in. I mean, people, this one woman, she was there, and she said a big van came in with a Ferrari in front of it, and they took out thousands, maybe 100,000 ballots. Oh, we found these. But she got a look at this thing, and they were like copies, like computer printouts with Biden's thing completely filled in, nothing over the edges, and no down votes. And she even said that they would take them and they would put one through and one through and one through three. It was like insane. And she wasn't even supposed to be in the building because she was one of the Republican people that were supposed to be watching this. Oh, we're not going to count anymore. Go home. Well, she and 2 others did not go home. All right, so you got that one. That is an affidavit. Okay, not only is it an affidavit, but this woman is very courageous and went out and told in public before, really, I think that it, the security set in to protect these people. Last night, on Hannity, McKinney came on, and she had a stack of just in one precinct, 248 affidavits about what they saw go wrong. And now they have people testifying, and it was very unclear to me where they were testifying, but it was in the Wisconsin and Michigan, but I think I get these two confused. One of those 2 states, it seemed to be a state looking at the situation, and these people were giving under oath, under perjury, what they saw, and they were astounding. I mean, I'm listening to these guys, and this was, a recording of a legal state get together, but they weren't explaining who it was. But you could see that this was all official. Everything was official. But then she got them on her. Hannity got them on his show to talk. There was like more than these 3. But these 3 people were very interesting. One of them was a postal guy, and he's only 20 years old. He's not a Biden or a Trump. They didn't even vote. 2 of these people never even voted. And he said that it was all about the post office, and I don't want to get into the details because, to be honest with you, it was like I was trying to follow it. But basically, he was seeing votes coming in from no place. There was no tracking on these votes, and all of a sudden they show up in the post office, and there's thousands and tens of thousands of ballots, and he didn't even what?
Well, I mean, these are mail-in ballots. And Pennsylvania, for example, the Republican legislature voted a provision before the election to not allow ballots to be counted, mail-in ballots to be counted in advance. They're only going to be counted after the live walk-in ballots, which
this was not Pennsylvania. This was not Pennsylvania.
Okay, well, it's just, there are a number of states.
Oh, okay, please, let me just.
This is the narrative. We need to find the truth in the middle. That there's going to be an early Trump lead, then they're going to start to count in mail-in ballots, and it's going to get close.
Okay, let me ask you about the truck driver that had 24 pallets that he picked up in New York in October, New York City. 24 pallets of ballots, and drove them to Pennsylvania. What about that guy? He testified.
Hey, let it all come out. I'm not arguing for, I'm just trying to talk about, okay, you say affidavits have a certain weight, but,
they're evidence in courts of law.
This is what I saw. An affidavit is, it's not conclusive evidence. It's an under oath testimony by someone. It's important, right? But if this is going to carry, Nancy, it's going to have to be something more than a truck driver's affidavit.
There are hundreds of these, Michael. Hundreds and hundreds of these in every state. They were so blatant.
Every single court that has thrown these suits out in multiple jurisdictions, in multiple states, from both sides of the party line, all of these people are just deep state operatives?
No. If anything, they're patriots. Because you see, if you take the case, then you're going to take time to try it. If you throw it out, then it goes up. You can appeal that decision to the next court. And every time that they get thrown out, that's a victory for them because they're getting closer and closer to the Supreme Court.
Yes, maybe on some occasions, and a lot of occasions, no. Like a circuit court that threw this out and said, this is not worthy of being forwarded. This is not, you're alleging fraud, but you present no evidence of fraud. This should be dismissed outright. There's no basis for this even to go upstairs to the next court.
First off, wait a minute, Michael. Whose case was that? Because, see, there's an awful lot of other cases being brought by other people other than Giuliani. Giuliani's only going 3 places, the last I knew.
Well, I know. They kicked Sidney Powell off, and now she's filing her own lawsuit. Right, okay, go for it, Sidney Powell. Bring out Dominion if you've got it. If you've got Dominion, bring out the servers. Demonstrate it, folks. It's got to be something besides, a rumor on the internet that Snopes comes out with some BS debunking of. Bring it out. I'd love to see the real evidence. Why is William Barr all of a sudden, going, sorry, Mr. President, we ain't got it. I've seen no evidence that's going to overturn the election. His own, buddy Attorney General. I'd love to see it. Let it come out. I mean, of what Simon Parks is putting out here, a very dramatic story. People died to obtain this information. It's like the plans for the Death Star in Star Wars, This is the key info, and we're tailing Princess Leia to try to get it back. Okay, let it all come out, but it's got to happen pretty darn soon, and it's got to be brought out by a credible source and indicted by, a real court. And I don't know, I mean, it's a great story. I'd love for it to be true. I'm no Trump fan, but if the election the American people need to have their votes honored. I very much doubt the 400 electoral vote landslide. I'm sorry. I find that, California? I know Newsom is a complete cabal puppet, but California? I'm sorry. I spent 25 years in California. California did not go red. I'm sorry. It did not. So, anyway, let it come out. I'm not fighting facts. I just want to see the real deal. An affidavit from a truck driver or lots of other, Republican supporters. The White House says, send in your affidavits, everybody. So they get a few hundred affidavits. Not saying these people are lying. What did what they see really mean? That's going to be the question. So, I'm not fighting facts here. I'm just saying I'm not seeing a narrative yet that's going to overturn this. Okay, we're going to kick it up to the Supreme Court. Trump himself said the other day, well, it's not easy to get to the Supreme Court, and it doesn't look like we will. So, I mean, let it come out. It's just, I'm just trying to, my usual bridge building role, which gets me shot at from both sides. What a fun role, is what I'm trying to maintain here, if that's of any help.
No, not really. Because have you looked at the amendments? Have you looked at the amendments? Have you looked at the people that are testifying under oath, under perjury charges? Are you looking at these people? Are you listening to their stories? Are you actually looking at the what they're doing here? It's not all of these. There's a guy. Oh, what's his name? Mark. I forget what his name is. But he's in Georgia, and he's got a possibility of presenting to the Supreme Court, and he's an individual that's doing this on his own because he was so disturbed by what he saw. And there is a pending Supreme Court look at his case right now. I don't even know. It might have already...
Great. Let it be brought forward. I mean, one guy's affidavit can be countered by another guy's affidavit saying, no, this person doesn't actually understand what he saw. Yes, what he saw from his perspective could mean this, but here's my affidavit as the superintendent of the postal delivery of mail-in ballots. This is what he actually is. Affidavits are good, and then there's other people's affidavits, and then there's, a judge and an indictment and a real case. And, like all these judges are patriots who are in on okay, I'm going to dismiss this with prejudice, with, ridiculing the case as my secret patriotic contribution to put it upstairs. Every single one of these 30 cases.
Well, why not?
I just find that hard to believe.
Yeah, that's your
What they
problem
were
here.
all
Yeah,
given-
that's your
they were all
problem
given
here.
a directive from
You
cats
don't want
weeks in advance.
believe. You
It's
don't
not
want.
about belief. This is a matter of evidence and fact and interpretation. It's not about
It's
belief.
there, but you won't look at it. It's
Look,
there.
I believe that there are affidavits from honest people who are reporting what they saw. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be accepted in a court of law or that it is the actual overall fact and truth of what happened. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're misinterpreting. I don't know. But, 100 affidavits does not mean that Dominion is true. I want to see Dominion. This is all about Dominion. These affidavits aren't going to overturn the election. This, supposed raid in Germany is the big story. Okay, well, Gina Haspel, shows up at a Washington press conference tomorrow, and one more internet rumor bites the dust. Let it be real for once in the last 10 years of rumors. Please, let it be real. I would love it. Let it be exposed. I'm not defending Biden or corruption or fraud, Nancy. I just want to see it.
So don't the rest of us. But it's happening. And you just have a prejudicial attitude towards Trump that you won't understand what the vast majority of Americans understand. That he's a good man.
Okay.
And he's not a jerk.
Whether or not, this is not about my prejudicial attitude towards Trump. I regard him on an objective basis as being an ineffective leader, incompetent, severe communication liabilities that render him unable to put his case to the people, severe character liabilities, corruption record. It's all there, 74 years of the guy's life. He's, this is not something
So
make
this,
up, and I'm not buying cabal.
so this
media.
man, so
Yes.
this man who has never been believed by anybody got millions of people to vote for him, and then the second time got many, many more, like a third times more, to vote for him. That we can hear him, we understand what he's saying. He's not a jerk to us. He's somebody that is funny, and if you looked at his record, all of the things that he has done, he has turned around the economy. He has made us energy secure. I mean, he has taken the Negro. Wow, what a blast from the past that was. But in my mind, yeah, that's what it was. He's taken the black people and he's put them into a new category. He has taken them out of prisons. He is making he has put a tremendous amount in opportunity zones. There's more of them that voted for him than any other Republican. I mean, the guy has taken the schools, the black schools that had to come and beg every year for funding. And he said, why do you come back every year? I'll give it to you. And he gave them 10 years of funding, more than they had asked for. He's working with every single area of the society to make it better. And you can look at the record. If you don't know what his record is, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
I've looked at the long list of Trump's achievements. I've looked at all of that. I look at both sides, Nancy. This is not about me just buying corporate media line.
Yes.
I've looked at the list of, hey, did you realize that he made, a $10 million contribution to cleaning up the oceans? Did you realize that he worked with, the Black College Fund? $10 million is barely enough to buy a ship to tour one, it's a token photo op environmental gesture. Most of that list consisted of token gestures and photo ops. So I'm just trying to be realistic. Now, the bottom line is, in terms of the anti-globalist, anti-cabal truth movement and meaningful, game-changing moves, what Simon Parks is talking about, that's a game-changing move. I've been hearing about the big game-changing move since 2011, all right, from people like Simon Parks, in some cases from Simon Parks. Okay, so there's a raid, there's a server, there's indictments coming, Joe Biden's wearing a boot, we're all going to find out about it before the solstice. I would love for that to be true. Yeah, I am not a Donald Trump fan. much more, I am very well aware of who Joe Biden is, and of the laptop, and of China, and of all of that. So with a bigger picture, if we can just agree to disagree for a second here, there's something about the 21st of December that I would like to share. Have you read about Uluru?
No.
Will you give me a couple of minutes to share? This is something from Pam Gregory, who I think you would really appreciate. And this is what multiple elders and wise people from around the planet have indicated is coming on the 21st. And this ties up with, if the Dominion server comes out, if it comes out in time to stop the certification by the Electoral College on it's either the 14th or the 15th, then, there is this incoming wave. And this has been verified not only by by indigenous elders, but also I think there's scientific evidence, of what is coming in here. So if you'll give me just half a second, because I know we've got about 13 minutes left here, and this is important, and I'd like us, to be able to find our way back to our common ground as compatriots here. We have the same values, we have the same goals, Nancy. I just happen to think that that Donald Trump is a really ineffective leader of the anti-globalist movement, and as long as we think we've got a good one, we're not going to take up the fight ourselves, and that's what it is. So, okay, December 21st, Uluru and the original prophecy of the change of everything. And this is from Nexus Newsfeed. I'll just read this. This has been an evolving process, began nearly 3 years ago. Elders and keepers of lore have approached us with an almost identical word-for-word description of soon-to-come days of complete transformation. Such has been the number and consistency of narrative if other elders approach us on unrelated archaeology or history that involves old way protocol and knowledge. We always introduce the topic of the upcoming change to see how they react and whether they know of this renaissance. If they don't, then our radar is on, our suspicion is aroused. Fortunately, that's never happened, because on each occasion when the subject was raised, immediately became obvious they were genuinely knowledgeable in such profound matters. So we first heard of the seminal transformation close to 3 years ago. The sources vary. Some are very close to those orchestrating these ceremonies. With others, there were degrees of separation. What remained constant was the general processes, location, and outcomes. We were told that a Pleiadian spaceship carrying a special device was on its way to Earth. Since the earlier description, it became obvious this already happened a long time before. From an original perspective, time is circular in nature and progressive, so being off by close to 1 million years is not an issue, as it did happen. This device, which the elders refer to as a magic box, is beyond the comprehension of mere mortals. There is one drawback in this gift from the stars. If unassisted by humans, and I think, Nancy, this goes into Gaia's permission and our need to witness. If unassisted by humans, it will do nothing beyond await instructions. Even when the switch is sung and turned on, the best it can independently do is get ready. Aliens of good intentions are banned from directly influencing human affairs. They can hint, suggest, wave a big white flag, but never initiate or supplement. I mean, that's like Star Trek's Prime Directive, right? This magic box will feed off pure, positive human energy. If there are indeed the minimum numbers still present, which runs into 6 figures, and unaffected by pandemics, economic chaos, warfare, and terrorism, and are totally focused on the positive, this box will absorb that powerful reservoir of pure energy, then amplify and distribute it through all the ley lines and dreaming tracks on this planet. This, I'm going to fast forward. So essentially, this is about the Schumann resonance going off the charts. This is about people who resonate at the lower end, essentially going down a different timeline. This is a shared intention for a ceremony on December 21st, 2020. This was given by original people, lore keepers. I am passing on their words. This is at 9 p.m. Australia time is when this will happen. This is the message. So this is a ceremonial message, and this is essentially just my effort to bring us together in sharing this with you here. Dear brothers and sisters, please read this entire message carefully. I've been instructed to provide clarity for a specific shared intention for a ceremony on the 21st of December 2020. This is the intention given directly by original people and lore keepers. I am passing on their words. I share this with pure love and energy in an effort to provide clarity for those of you wishing to help and positively contribute to the ceremony, and if you are wondering how you can do that. Here is the guidance from original people involved in the ceremony. We need to deeply listen and respect those who know exactly what is going on and what this ceremony is for. They've prepared for it their whole lives and for many, many generations. These are their words. We need to be truly focused on a singular, focused, specific thought, feeling, and intention. The purpose of this ceremony is for the rainbow serpent to become the rainbow bridge, to rise up to connect with the light of the sun and go straight into the heart of Mother Earth, cleansing, energizing, and reinvigorating Mother Earth and ushering in a new era of consciousness for Mother and her children. To be clear, the focus is on Mother Earth, not on ourselves. We need to focus on reinvigorating Mother Earth and raising her consciousness. If this ceremony is supported by enough pure love, energy, and support of the shared specific intention, it will be successful. The byproduct of a successful ceremony will be the new era of consciousness for Mother Earth and her children, us. We need to ensure our focus and love is on her, Mother Earth, and on this specific intention. With a cleansed body, heart, mind, and soul, the intention is a pure love for Mother in our heart as we ask to energize the heart of Mother Earth with our love and energy. With this pure intention, you can contribute to the energy of the ceremony from wherever you are in such a positive way. You need not be at Uluru in Australia. You can do this from afar, and it will make a huge difference. It is the energy the ceremony needs to work. When sending the pure love and revitalizing energy to the heart of Mother, this energy can be sent through the root of your body and into the song lines, or through the spiritual eye to Uluru, to join the ceremony energies. Whatever way individuals find suits them is the right way to send the energy. As long as the energy and intent is there at 9:02 p.m. Universal Time on the 21st of December, it shouldn't matter how it gets there. The intention is pure love to reinvigorate and re-energize the heart of Mother. So thank you for allowing me to share that. I know, you and I have some disagreements about Mr. Trump, but if we don't find a way to join hands with those who have different views of what's going on, as long as we are sharing the same values, we want the same goals, we want the restoration of the republic, we want democracy to triumph, we want the votes to be true, we want the exposure of the dark faction. We need to come together. We need to not quibble about, hey, I think Trump's a sweetheart. Hey, I think he's a jerk. We need to get past that. There are millions of people on both sides, and I'm sorry, they're not all demonic communists on the blue side, and they're not all ignorant rednecks on the red side. And that's the way each side, demonizes the other. We need to get past that. Okay, I'm done.
While you were reading that, there was a really weird background noise. Did you change your position at all?
No, it might have just been my forced air heater coming on. I hope you could hear me.
Well, it was weird because the sound went left when you ended. So I didn't know if we were having Palladian, interference, or make sure you understand this, pay attention to this type of thing, It's weird.
Oh, what kind of sound was it? I mean, my forced air heater's going on in the background right now. It's not that.
No.
It's just a fan.
No.
But
You'll have
was
to...
what I'm saying being heard, or was it?
Oh
being
yeah. I would have stopped you if it wasn't. It was just odd. You'll have to listen to it, and maybe you'll realize. At first, I thought it was like an aircraft going over. And then
I could hear that at your end. You had a lot of big planes going over.
I didn't have any planes at all.
Oh, it was classic, big, like, it sounded like big military planes going over your house.
Well, that could happen, but I had the earphones on, so I wouldn't have heard them, actually, now that I think about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, I could hear that pretty clearly.
Well, Okeechobee Airport is just about, I don't know, it's within 5 miles of me. And it is a military airport and civilian. But, you get a lot of planes that go directly over me. As a matter of fact, when the president spoke at that airport and got back on Air Force One, 20 minutes later or after it was over, I'd watched it. All of a sudden I hear this plane I'd heard earlier in the day, but I couldn't see what it was. And I said, that's the Air Force plane, Air Force One. And I run out of the house and I get to the yard, and just in this one spot where the canopy of trees is very, very intense, but there's this one spot where it's open. And just as I get there, Air Force One flies into it, starts a bank, the full moon lights up the entire plane, the whole bottom of the plane, and it was just like one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And off he went.
Wow.
So, no, it's interesting that you're talking like, well, first off that, because we talked on the Shungite show, it's trending, is that you have to be selfish. You have to protect yourself. You have to get yourself stabilized. Look at yourself. Don't worry about the outside. Just get yourself right, which is, absolutely, what is needed. We can do this, but there's nothing any of us can do. I mean, probably I should stop talking about this stuff, except that's my job. And what we need to do is just think in terms of, if we do exactly what they're saying there, put out that love energy, get the connection to Gaia, we can do this. So that was an exact, kind of rendition of part of what we were talking about on Shungite yesterday, Shungite show. So it's all very true. So
yeah, and I just want to say again, if what Simon Parks is sharing is real, if Trump got a 400 electoral vote plurality, in fact, that's the will of the American people. I'm an American patriot. I support the Constitution. Let Trump be inaugurated. That's America. That's what, my great-grandfather fought for at Gettysburg.
Well,
and
listen, there's another thing involved in this. He took the oath to protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Right.
So, this doesn't end when you leave office. He's not going to leave office thinking that he is completely destroyed the Constitution. It's not going to happen. He will fight to protect the Constitution. So, I don't think anybody should even think about Biden and his group being in, because he's a patriot and he believes in God, and he took that oath under under God.
Yeah, well, let it be. Let it unfold. Let the truth come out. And this is some very big stuff that Simon Parks is talking about. And if it's real, nobody wants it to come out more than me.
Okay, we got to sign off.
Yeah, we're there. So, Radio 5G thanks you. A joint project of Cosmic Reality Radio and the Circuit Academy of Global Evolution. And Nancy, I have such great admiration and respect for you, and I'm proud to call you my friend. So on we go.
I love you too. This isn't anything, big deal.
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Okay. God bless us, everyone. See you next time, folks.
Thank you for listening. May it be.
Let it